Do you want to frequently feel like you're in flow, that you are focused and determined to conquer whatever it is that is in front of you? Well, sometimes it is part of the process to get overwhelmed. And inside the nervous system world, especially inside the bulletproof nervous system community, I always preach that it is not about not getting overwhelmed, right? It is not about never, ever, ever being dysregulated or stressed out. That's part of life these days. And it is through how we respond to the stressful events that are constantly occurring in our lives that truly make a difference with regards to our mental, physical, and emotional health moving forward. So, today I'm going to talk to you about a really, really cool concept in the nervous system world called the window of tolerance. And I'm just getting this presentation ready so that I can show you because it's easier to see this in action. And this concept is really going to change the way with regards to how you perceive stress because all stress isn't bad. It's all about of course our perception with regards to it, how we deal with it, and how often we are hanging around in this space of in this window of tolerance where we can heal, rest, and recuperate to meet further demands. So let me share my screen now. All right, so as you can see here, this is the window of tolerance, and this is a concept where what you want to do is take a snapshot of a 24-hour day and notice where you hang out in the most. Are you in hyper arousal, where you find a fight or flight response, or hypoarousal, where you're more collapsed, sunken in, shut down, are really unmotivated, as well as even in freeze, where you want to do something, you're very anxious about it, but somehow your body just can't move. And then to contrast, this nice window of tolerance is where you hang out more per day, where you're in flow, you're meeting demands. It's not just about being relaxed all the time. It's also about if you have a stressor in front of you, you can respond to it appropriately that is aligned with your values. It's not just about sitting around doing nothing. It's also meeting the demands of whatever it is that you're doing for your work, for your business, for your clients, for your family, for you especially. So this is where you want to actually take a snapshot of yourself as to where you're hanging out. And in contrast, someone who is chronically stressed or even has had a lot of trauma in their past, their window of tolerance may look like this, where they're not hanging out in the state of regulation as much. And to caveat, these are good concepts to learn theoretically, but there's actually a way that it's not just the thoughts that you're thinking that you want to take into account. Like, what is your body feeling? And this is more important than the thoughts. So, someone who is dysregulated in their bodies, or sometimes they might think that everything is fine, but their bodies are saying otherwise. Their body is talking to them in a way that they're not really doing okay, that they're in a stressed out state. So they are hyper aroused, meaning that every little thing would just piss them off or sets them over the edge. They get wound up or irritated, frustrated, even ragey at times with the simplest of things, and they cannot see fact as they are. And or they will hang out in the hypoarousal state, very depressed, unmotivated, and not having a lot of energy, as well as if they're in freeze state, then they have this urge, this feeling, this urgency of wanting to do something, but physically they can't. This is more in a hypoarousal dorsal vagal state. And these feel very, very differently in your body. So how does your body feel? Are you connected with your body? Do you know what that feels like, right? This is very, very important. So if you think of something stressful that overwhelmed you recently, please don't, when you do this exercise, please do not think of an overly traumatic event. Just think of something that overwhelmed you, right? There were just a lot of things going on and you were just overwhelmed. Think of that moment in time and how long did it take you to come back to a place where you felt calm but alert at the same time, when you're able to actually rationalize and use your thinking brain, critical thinking, and decision making to make the right decision that is aligned with your values. How long did it take you to get there? Because this is really what's going to tell you where you're at here, nor there, nor here in dysregulated. And again, this is not about saying dysregulation is bad, regulation is good. Obviously, regulation is more optimal for our health. The goal of the nervous system regulation that I particularly teach is all about recognizing dysregulation, because it's really, really important. If we know that we are dysregulated, some people do not know they're dysregulated. They're like, yeah, I'm doing fine. But symptoms such as skin problems, sleep problems, problems with their gut, problems with their appetite, problems with their immune system when they get sick, and there's just no energy left. Those are signs of a dysregulated system. And to them, it might feel that, everything is good because it's their homeostasis, but their body is showing differently. And again, this is not to say that this is bad. This is more to say that it's very important to be more self-aware with regards to what our body is doing, how we are feeling, because it's a great way for us to really and truly change our patterns moving forward so that we don't get overwhelmed with the simplest of things. And when it comes to feeling overwhelmed, how that works is that someone who is hanging out here in this room of regulation for a very long time is most likely like here, right? So their set point is here. If we were to put a line over here, their set point of where they're hanging out is going to be here, and they're just going to go up and down around this set point. And when a life challenge comes, they are coming from this place of saying, okay, so I am over here. I am going to pause, think this through, listen to my body, see how that goes. And based on that, that's how I'm going to respond to it. So they're really able to tap into their critical thinking brain and talk to their survival brain and say, okay, so this is stressful, as the survival brain says, but then the workings of their prefrontal cortex is still is working well because they're in the regulated state, and both minds are part of their brains are communicating effectively, that they can rationalize through the situation because their homeostasis is here. On the other hand, if they're dysregulated, that same amount um, of activation, they're over here. They're now in the red zone. Their normal is in red zone. So they're hanging out in amber and red here for most of their days because they're just hanging out. This is their window of tolerance at this moment in time. And so when something stressful comes, like when coffee spills all over the table, because their set point is already here, they're going to respond with more of a fight or flight survival response instead of a more regulated, calm state. So they lose their shit very quickly and they get irritated and frustrated more often. And again, this is just a sign to really help you determine where you are at. What is your default pattern when it comes to dealing with a stressful situation, with a situation that you had in mind that made you overwhelmed? What was your default? Was your default to become frustrated, angry, ragey, overwhelmed, or was your um, what was your set point? Was your default pattern when you got overwhelmed to shut down and or freeze, where yes, I want to do something about it, but I don't know how. I feel paralyzed. What is that for you? This is very, very, very important to know, because then once you know, that is healing in and of itself. Once you understand yourself, then you can make the necessary changes to help you out. And so what do we do with this, right? So if you're finding that your default is just to get frustrated when you're overwhelmed. Again, nothing wrong with that, but also we want to expand this window of tolerance so it looks more and more like this because again, it's more optimal with it when it comes to healing. But the journey to go from here to here starts with a regulation practice at a time. And these practices, especially the ones that I give in the Bulletproof Nervous System program, these practices are meant to be very, very quick and in the moment. So I'm going to share with you one that can be used if either you are in hyperarousal fight or flight or hypoarousal dorsal vagal of shutdown and freeze. So let me stop sharing my screen. So what we have now is a practice. What I'm going to show you now is a practice, and it is using breath to regulate your nervous system. This thing is. And what you want to do is to be in a spot where you're both alert and relaxed, sit good, and just be aware of what is happening in your breath. You can either have your eyes closed or open. It's up to you. If your eyes are open, just lower your gaze down and soften it. And just notice what's happening with your breath. You don't need to change or manipulate your breath now. Just notice what it is. And this practice is called one-to-one breathing, where our goal is to match the inhales and exhales, and has been shown to really improve the health of the part of our nervous system called the vagus nerve, which allows for optimal healing to take place. And so by exercising this, you get to really train that nerve to be its optimal function to help you increase your window of tolerance. So keep noticing your breath. No need to change it right now. And on your next breath, count how many counts it takes for you to inhale. And then count how many counts it takes for you to exhale. If you're already at one-to-one with equal inhales and exhales, great. Just stay here and notice what happens. Otherwise, whichever it was that has the lower count, can you allow yourself to increase that and deepen that breath? And for this practice, we never want to force our nervous system and our breath to increase. So you want to work with yourself here. And when you're increasing the count of either the inhale or exhale, go slowly, one count at a time, until you have equal inhales or exhales. Just again, noticing what happens if your attention drifts away. Just bring it back to your breath. Count the inhales and then the exhales and see where you're at. If there is a number that's lower, can you allow that number to expand, whether that be your inhale or exhale? And when you're already in one to one, just allow yourself to stay in here and notice what happens to the rest of your body and notice how your mind feels. And you can stay here for as long as you want or keep working at it if you are still working on equalizing those inhales or exhales. And just notice the difference from when you started the practice to where you are now, that your inhales or exhales are the same ratio. All right. How was that? Share your experience below. It's always great to notice and do a quick assessment before and afterwards because it really shows you that you are in control, that you can control it, especially if you've shifted from overwhelm to being more focused or calm. You seeing yourself do that yourself is very, very powerful and absolutely helps you to be confident in taking control of your own body, which you have the capabilities to do so. And I hope that that helps. I did mention earlier that these nervous system states, if you're not familiar with them, is a body process. Talking about how some people don't know that they're dysregulated until they actually start feeling it in their body. This is normal. This was me at first as well. I didn't really notice how the tight muscles that I had, especially around my jaw, around my neck, and around my shoulders were due to the fact that I am someone who used to hang out so much in the sympathetic nervous system state. That is still my default pattern, but have brought myself back down to regulation as much as possible. And just the feeling in my body is the lightness, like I'm not always like high strung all the time, has tremendously helped in terms of the decision making aspect as a business owner, the health aspect as someone who prioritizes their health, and just the mental aspect of wanting to just be a good person to myself and not be an asshole. And again, this is a body experience. And this is one of the things that I truly believe is a skill set that everyone needs to learn, especially us who are in this field of helping other people with their health. Because if we can help ourselves, we can help others better, right? And so I do have an introduction course to the nervous system, to nervous system regulation. And here, what you learn is how the specific nervous system states are within your body that are causing havoc so that you can reduce the amount of chronic illnesses that happen. You can prevent it from happening because you're proactive about it, or if you're someone who has chronic issues, such as chronic skin problems, digestion problems, maybe cardiovascular problems, you're seeing your blood pressure go up, metabolic problems in terms of your sugar, pre-diabetes, diabetes. All of these things are affected by how our nervous system is, the stress response that is happening in our bodies. And so this introduction course is really going to help you find um, or help you assess where you are currently at to really either upregulate your nervous system when you're in shutdown and burnout so you don't stay in inaction for way too long, and or if you are in a hyper aroused sympathetic fight or flight state, to bring that down so that you can think more clearly and make rational decisions. And so, if you are interested in this course, let me know and comment below neuroplasticity for more information. Otherwise, I hope that that one to one breathing helped. This is a practice that you can do pretty much anywhere, and as little as one-to-one breathing session per day is really going to help expand that window of tolerance. So you don't have to always be overwhelmed. And instead, you can just flow through your day with focus, intention, and ease.